Hello, my friends. This is Jeannie. Welcome back. If you are a first-time visitor, welcome and thank you. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the projects that I am about to release from my modes here. This is another resin casting video. I did post one previously post a video where I shared with you some of my resin casting. In that video, I did get some questions. So I thought that while I release these pieces from their modes, that I would answer some of the questions that were posted in my last video. So let's begin with the one question that I was asked a couple of times, which was the type of resin that I use. I use three types of resins. One type is the fast cast resin, which is, I believe, what I predominantly used in that first video that I posted. This is a quick set resin. It sets in 10 minutes. This is something you don't want to dilly-dally with in terms of taking your time to do your projects. You really do have to know what you want to do with it, because as soon as the two different chemicals come into contact and start mixing, your time is ticking and it sets super quick. It's called fast cast. I get it at Michael's. Sometimes I get it on Amazon. More often than not, I get it on Amazon because it's just easier for me that way. But at Michael's, you can use a coupon. Now, it's been a minute, a good long time since I purchased fast cast from Michael's. So at the time that I purchased this some time ago, they had it. I don't know if that's still the case now, but in any event, if you don't find it at Michael's, check any of your local crafting stores. Definitely will find it on Amazon. In terms of prices, which is another question I got, I don't remember the prices. Resin is not something that I buy regularly, like every month or so. It's something I buy every so often because it does last a long time. So just do a quick little Google search. You can do fast cast resin and you can price compare that way. So the upside of the fast cast resin is that it is a quick set resin. The downside of it is that the base color you're left with is this white color. You can change the color of the resin by adding pigment powders, and I will go a little bit more into pigment powders later on in the video. But whatever color pigment you add to your fast cast, it's not going to be as bright or an exact color payoff compared to what you put into it. Because your base coat is white, the white tends to kind of dilute, is not the correct word, but it's definitely going to fade back whatever color pigment you put into this. And I find 9 times out of 10 end up more with a pastel-y version of the original pigment color that you put into it. So I'm not a big fan of pastels. Pastels are cute, but it's not something I use on the regular. So I tend to just cast it white, and whatever color or details I want to add, I do that later. But it is super quick. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about it. The other type of resin that I use is the easy cast resin, and I think this is more the bread and butter, so to speak, of the resin casting community. This is more standard. Again, I got this at Michael's, oh my gosh, a good while ago. And this is a 1-to-1 equal parts ratio in terms of mixing. So is the fast cast. So is equal parts mixed together to get the resin mix. This does require a little bit of more patience and kind of babysitting when you're casting. You mix it very slowly so you don't get a lot of air bubbles. And once you put the resin into your modes, whatever bubbles you do or did have tend to rise to the surface, and you want to watch over that to make sure that you pop those bubbles or get rid of those bubbles, because if you don't, then you're going to have little like craters in your final resin piece, and nobody wants that. So it's a little bit more work involved with this, but if you're patient and you follow the directions, you get a really nice payoff. You also get a really nice payoff with the colors. Whatever pigments or color dyes you add, you tend to be true to color. If you don't add anything to it, you get a clear cast. If you're not careful with managing your bubbles, you will get bubbles that you can see in your clear cast, which could be totally frustrating, especially if that one bubble just gets stuck in the wrong place. All of a sudden your piece just looks not as nice as you had hoped. But if you have the patience, this is and you're just starting in, I think if you're just starting with resin, this is probably where you want to start, because this is where you learn all of your basics in terms of how to mix, how to color, and just kind of babysitting your work and make sure it comes out to the standard that you want it to. So again, in terms of pricing, do a quick little search on Google and you can see that for yourself. I've had these 2 bottles for a good long while. This yellow one didn't start off yellow. I think the longer you have it, it eventually starts changing in color. I've had these for a while. I made the mistake of buying 2 boxes at the same time. I should have just stuck with the 1 box, because it takes me such a long time to get through the items. By the time I got through that first set and into this one, this had already started changing color. I wasn't sure if the color change would affect the pieces, but it doesn't. It still casts clear. It doesn't, it's not doing anything differently. It just looks a little disconcerting and bothersome. But other than that, I haven't had any issues with it. So that is the Easy Cast resin. The final type that I use, and perhaps my favorite, is the Brilliant Resin. This is by littlewindows.com, and here is their web information. I absolutely love this. As you can see, the bottle sizes are different. This is 1 pair, your part A, your part B. It is a 2-to-1 ratio so what that means, for every 2 parts of this, the part A, you're adding 1 part of the part B. So because the color ratio, not color, because the ratio is a little different, that's why you have the different sizes of bottle. I just finished these 2. I'm going to have to go back and order more. But this is my favorite. This is absolutely gorgeous. I think in terms of quality and brilliance and clarity, and this is the way to go. It's a little more expensive, but like with anything that gives you better quality payoff, those tend to be a little more expensive. Let me see if I can find, I don't think I have any clear ones to show you. Okay, yeah, here's one. So here's a piece that I did with the Little Windows, the Brilliant Resin, and it is absolutely flawless. Look at that. It's like glass. Beautiful, stunning, clear, no bubbles, absolutely gorgeous. This stuff here is pretty much foolproof, stunning. You can add colors to it, and I mean, the end result is just beautiful. Beautiful. And this is just a piece released right from a mold. It hasn't been glossed or treated in any way, and you can see just how stunning that is. Absolutely beautiful. So this is my favorite, and I think it's a little more expensive, but I think what I'm going to do is, once I'm done with these final 2 bottles of my Easy Cast, I'm not going to do Easy Cast anymore. I'm just going to continue with these because the payoff is just unbelievable. But if you're just starting, I would suggest you start with the Easy Cast, because financially or money wise, I think it's you won't feel so bad if you ruin a batch. Whereas if you're using the Brilliant Resin and you ruin a batch, you're gonna feel really bad, because it's a little more pricey. And you can go to their website to check that out. So that is the resin that I use. The other question I got is, where do I get my molds? Most of them I've purchased through Amazon or Etsy shops. Like with anything else, you just have to look around, watch other videos where people recommend websites. I've also found some of my molds at Michael's in their cake decor department. With the molds, I will say this: if your mold is like, you see how this is a shiny mold, I don't have any matte molds in front of me, but the finish of your mold really does make a difference. If you use a shiny mold, like you see how shiny that is, to cast your resin pieces, then they will finish with they pop out with this beautiful shiny finish, right? If you use a mold that is more a matte type finish, and I find that ice trays or those really cute decorative molds for decorative ice cubes, those tend to be matte. When you cast using a matte mold, your finish is going to be matte, which is not a terrible thing if that's your aesthetic. And it's also something that can be easily fixed by using a glaze on your resin piece. But if you want to save yourself a step, try to find molds that have a shiny finish, because a shiny finish mold will give you a shiny finish. See, shiny finish on your piece. I don't know why that is. I don't know the science. I'm sure somebody I'm sure some science babe can explain that to you. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. Okay, so that is the question being answered on the molds that I used. Another question I got was, how do you color your pieces? That's my cuckoo clock. What do you use to color your pieces? Now, coloring resin is it's a tricky thing. You will be tempted, like if you have paints, dyes, and other things in your craft room, you're going to be tempted to just toss stuff in there because all you want to do is add a little bit of color, right? But you really do have to be careful what you add, because if you add some things, you add can actually change the chemical makeup of your resin, and it won't set correctly, and you might finish with a more sticky feel to it, or it might finish where the piece is flexible and it hasn't completely set. If that happens, it's because you added something to your resin that changed the chemical makeup of your resin, so it didn't set properly. For me, the safest thing to use, or the thing that I use that I know won't affect the chemical makeup of the resins, are pigment powders. Okay, so I specifically use Pearl X. Okay, now I know some people use inks, or do a search and you'll see just about everything that people use. And I know there's some liquid mediums out there that are specifically made so that you can add them to resin. That's a different thing. What I'm talking about is, for example, if you have ink refillers, taking that ink and dropping it into your resin might change the chemical makeup of your resin. But if you have an ink that's specifically formulated to work with resin, it's not going to affect your resin in a bad way. So it's something you just have to do a little bit of research on, like adding acrylic paint. I don't suggest you do that. That's definitely going to change the chemical makeup of your resin. So there are a lot of do's and don'ts. But for me, the biggest do is just do a little research and try to find product that's specifically formulated to work with resin. You can experiment with other things, but with like experiments, some are going to be a hit and some are going to be a miss. And how frustrating would it be for you to do an entire cast and then everything turns out sticky or not quite set because whatever you added to it was not correct. I think the best thing you can do for yourself is do a little bit of research, find the correct product to work with the resin. Now, Pearl X, this works absolutely perfectly with resin. I have it in all kinds of colors. I've had these in my stash for years, okay? And a little bit goes a long way. a little bit goes a long way. A little bit of this will literally cover or color up, color change an entire batch of your resin. Super easy to incorporate. What you do is you mix your part A, you mix your part B, and then you toss in a tiniest bit, you know, and the more you add, the darker the color payoff is going to be. But add a little bit of this, and then boom, you're ready to go. It's foolproof in terms of it won't ruin the chemical makeup of your resin, so your resin will set properly and you will get the color payoff that you're looking for. I use my Pearl X powder with my Brilliant resin, and my Pearl X powders together. Absolutely gorgeous. This is what you end up with. Beautiful. Okay, here it is, clear. Here it is with the Pearl X powder, and it's absolutely stunning. It didn't change the way that my product set. It didn't affect it in any way other than change the color of it. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so that's just straight up coloring. Here's one I casted from that heart mode. This one right here that I showed you, using some pigment powder and some glitter. Okay, now things you can add to your resin to help just embellish it a little bit more. Glitter, big time glitter. I have tons of it. Okay, now there are different approaches on how to use the glitter. Some people mix the glitter straight into the resin right before they pour it. Okay, you could definitely do it that way. I think you tend to get more bubbles that way because when you're introducing glitter pieces, it just creates a lot of little air bubbles in your mix. So what I like to do to avoid that altogether is I pour out. This is a good example. I pour out. I pour the glitter, or I pour the resin into the mold, and then I go back and I tap the glitter onto each individual piece. So the glitter will sink into the resin, right? But it won't sink all the way to the bottom. I guess I shouldn't say that. It usually doesn't sink all the way to the bottom if you're using just like the lighter glitter, if that makes sense, like these almost confetti pieces. The heavier your glitter mix, the more likely it is to sink to the bottom of your piece. Just something to keep in mind in terms of aesthetics. If you use super heavy chunky glitter, it will sink to the bottom of your piece, and you'll just have like, it'll be super dense with glitter at the bottom and on the top. In other words, the glitter won't be distributed evenly throughout your mix. Okay, so this is my method. Everybody has different methods. I just pour, then I go in and I add the glitter on top, almost like icing on a cake. Okay, and I can show you what those look like because I started popping some of them. See, here's one that I poured. Okay, and then I went in with some gold glitter, purple glitter on the top. Okay, here's another one that I poured and then went in with some green glitter for the bottom, purple, and kind of like a bluish on the top, right? So you can see the mess that I make, but when you pop them, like I was in the process of releasing these. Here's one, super pretty. Look at this one. Look at the blue and the green. And all this is that clear, brilliant resin. I didn't even use pigment powder to color it. I wanted it clear, and then I went in with glitter and just added some sparkle in color. Now, some of this did have some spillover. That's okay. What I will do is go in later, trim off the excess, and use my Dremel tool to clean it up some. But how gorgeous is this result? Look at this. Stunning. So what I will do with my Dremel tool is basically sand down the edges so that it looks more finished. It looks more like Let's see, can we find? I don't even know where I just put it. I don't know where I just put my finished pieces. But what you do is you can use sandpaper or a Dremel tool just to sand down. Well, first what you want to do is use a pair of scissors to trim off this, like this excess, any super big pieces of excess usually trims off easily. You can trim all this off with a pair of scissors. You can even pull some of it off like you're seeing with your hand. Okay, and then you go in with a sander or sandpaper and just clean it up. Now, when you're sanding resin, that is a very toxic dust that you do not want to inhale. So number one, do it outdoors. Number two, wear a face mask. Okay, so as long as you do those two things, sanding this down is okay. What you don't want to do is do this in a small closed-in space with no sander, with no face mask, and you inhale everything. That's horrible. That's not good for you. You don't want to do that. Okay, crafting should be fun, not lethal. So don't do that. But these pieces turned out absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to release the rest of them. I can't wait. Look at this one. Oh wow, this one has a big look. You can definitely go in when you have a piece that big. My goodness, you can go in with a pair of scissors and trim that down. Let's see, let me reach for my scissors. And I use my Tim Holtz scissors, and you can just go in and trim off super excess like that, so you don't have to spend too much time sanding that down. Okay, then you go in with a little fine sander and trim off the rest, and you're fine. Okay, so I won't bore you with more of that, but how easy is that to do? So let's pop off the rest of these. Oh my gosh, look at this one I added. This is all glitter, green glitter, pink and purple glitter. Beautiful. Okay, it's a good way to use up your glitter stash too. Absolutely good way to use it up. Look at that, beautiful piece. So what do I do with these once they're finished? Well, what I'm going to do is use a little tool to make a little hole on the top here so that I can put in a little eye screw, and I use these to make chunky charms or pendants or whatever you want. Super easy. These turned out really nice. Yes. Yay, look at that. I love that brilliant resin. I think that's what I'm going to do from this point forward. I'm just going to stick with the brilliant resin because the cast is just so beautiful and so clear, and all you have to do is add some glitter on top and you get these beautiful finishes. So if you don't want to invest in the pigment powder, but you know you have tons of glitter in your stash, right? Then get yourself some of that brilliant resin and just use your glitter to add. Look at that. How beautiful is that? Gorgeous. To add the different colors and the bling. Look at my hands, super glittery now. So hopefully I answered all of the questions. I think that was pretty much most of the questions that were posted in that video. Someone did ask, how would I compare working with resin as opposed to using paper clay? Oh my gosh, resin, I much prefer the resin. I tried the paper clay. I was getting frustrated with the paper clay because it kind of warps. Paper clay warps. I can't have something warpy or warped. I need a piece that has a flat back so that I can attach it to a canvas or press it down onto whatever and not worry that it's going to snap. Okay, so I tried paper clay, didn't like it. I don't think I'm going to continue with that. I'm going to just stick with my resin. And here you definitely get, as long as you're working on a flat surface, you're going to get a leveled flat back to your pieces. So let me show you some of the other pieces that I have been working on. Here's a mold. I love this mold. Usually when I'm working with resin, I keep this mold on the side, and any excess I might have, I just pour into these little hearts. And the end result super cute. So I had some excess of the brilliant resin when I was casting all my little mermaid tails, so I was able to get 3 hearts. And then what I did was I just went in with that glitter and sprinkled different glitters on top, and look at how beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? This one is my favorite. That's a pink, purple, and blue mix. So absolutely gorgeous. Okay, I have this mold that I picked up from, I think it was an Etsy shop some many years ago. It's a frame, so I cast that one. Okay, and this is what, now for this one, okay, this, I did take one batch and I added some of my pigment powder, and look how beautiful. It was like a pinkish rose type pigment powder, and then I added some glitter to it. Isn't that gorgeous? Beautiful pieces. Okay, let's see. Here's, and these molds right here I got from Etsy. So do a quick little search on Etsy for resin molds and tons will pop up. Here's a rose one that I haven't pulled yet. I haven't pulled out yet. So let's pull that one together, see what it looks like. Wow. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that. That's really pretty. pretty. So also other things I make with these, I make brooches. Okay, I made using this mold. Actually, I'll show you this mold. This is really cute. Here's a little owl mold. You get these, absolutely, aren't these gorgeous? You can put these on a base and make a cute little ring. I remember making a bunch of these for my Girl Scouts some years ago. They absolutely love them. Beautiful. Okay, another thing you can do, you know how there's a lot of color shifting type nail polish that's out now? What you can do is, if you cast a clear piece, after it's dried, you coat the back of it with a couple of layers of that nail polish, and you'll get that shift effect in your piece. I did do a couple like that. I don't know, well, I do know where they are right now, but not within reach. So I can't show it to you, but maybe before the end of this video, I'll walk over. I can see them from here, but let me show you what else I've done. Here's another piece. I purchased this particular mold from a seller also on Etsy, I want to say Etsy. Okay, and she's really cool because she hand makes these molds. She basically carves them, creates them herself. So it's awesome. It's a little llama. So here's my little llama. Cute little llama. Okay, here's another one. Also got these. I want to say this one I got from Amazon. So look at these. Look at the dimension on that. Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely gorgeous. And this one is cool because you can cast in 3s. So that's a really nice stash build up. Stash builder. Look at that one. So pretty. Okay, I will try to link. I'm not going to remember most of these Etsy shops that I got this from because it's such a long time ago. But I do remember, I don't remember her name right now, but I know I have the information, and I'm going to link it down below so that you can check out her shop. Here's one she did of a lollipop. So I just put some color resin and glitter on the lollipop part of the mold. What I'm going to do is later on I will go in and pour that fast cast on the stick end of it, so it looks like a it looks like an actual lollipop. So let's see if I can, no, this one, can I get it out? I don't know. Let's see. I feel it. It's released. There it is. So how cute. There's the lollipop part of it. So what I'll do is I'll pop that back in. I'll go in later on with some of that fast cast to fill this in. and it'll look like an actual lollipop. And my plan is to hang that off a Chunky Charm. So if you give me a minute, I'm going to, I don't even need a minute, but look at all the pretty, look at all the little pretty pieces. I'm going to walk over to that shelf over there and get my box of Resin Stash and see if I can find that color shifting one. Okay, I got it. So let me look for that color. Oh, here's a, oh, that's a big piece. Let me see. Let me show you some of the other things that I have done with my resin. Over time, I keep my stash in a little cigar box. Okay, so let's see. Here's a really cute, look at this one. Here's a Hello Kitty one that I made a bunch of these some time ago. Let's see, Hello Kitty. But the color shifting one I'm looking for is going to be in this box right here. So yeah, here it is. Okay, so do you see that? Do you see that effect? Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? Now the way I got that was I casted this owl piece in that, using that brilliant resin, and then once it was done, I went and coated the back of the piece with a color shifting nail polish. And then look, that is absolutely stunning. So that is that. What other pieces I have here? Oh my gosh, here's my sugar skull. This was a labor of love because each of those flowers I actually casted one piece at a time so that I can have all the different colors. Here's a small version. Here's another version of that owl, but here's the color shifting one. Isn't that beautiful? Look at how it shifts. Absolutely stunning. Okay, so I think at some point I might have to go in and make more of these, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And that's just a clear cast with that color shifting nail polish. So here's another rose. This is a beautiful blue color. So, I mean, I love resin. Here's a sea star. So much you can do with it. Here are just little almost domino style type pendants that I made. Aren't they gorgeous? All you have to do is add the eye hook and all the whatever pieces you need to it to make it either a brooch, a pin, a pendant. It's absolutely gorgeous. So, and it's actually, look at this cupcake, so fun. So fun, so fun. You can also use stickers like in here. That's a sticker in there. That's a sticker in there. So tons of video, tons of things you can do. So much fun to be had. Let's see, here we have some little bows. So fun. So some butterflies. Super cute. Here we have a little flower. Okay. So I love resin. I love playing with it. So I thought I would take a minute or two, or in this case, 33, to answer your questions. And hopefully I answered them all. If you have any other questions, definitely feel free to leave them down below. Here's another one of the color shifting one. Oh my gosh, these are absolutely my favorite for sure. Look at that. And I will try to answer them. Otherwise, I think this is going to conclude my resin share with you for a long time because I built up quite a stash. Maybe I'll come back actually and show you later on what these little mermaid tails look like once they're cleaned up and they have their little eye hook and you can see them attached to a chunky charm. So that is my entire share, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. I truly do appreciate it. If you are a first-time visitor and you like what you see, definitely come back and visit me. I would appreciate that. Also, in case you don't know, I've already launched my 2019 I Made It challenge. The prizes are super amazing, so check that out. I will link that down below as well. I'm also going to link that first resin video I made down below. And again, I will hopefully remember to link the shop where I got these beautiful pieces down below. A lot of linking going on down below. That is all for now. Thank you so much, my friends. I will catch you all in the next video. Until next time, bye-bye.